News: gunfire erupting at a funeral on Detroit's west side. 5 people shot, including the suspect. Welcome to 7 News Detroit at 11. I'm Carolyn Clifford.
And I'm Mike Duffy. Thank you for joining us. Families gathering to mourn a young man killed in a car crash, left with a shattered sense of safety on top of grief and trauma.
They were outside Greater Love Tabernacle Church on Plymouth Road near the Southfield Freeway when shots rang out just before 6 o'clock tonight.
7 News Detroit reporter Megan Lee spent hours on the scene. She's talking with people who saw the chaos unfold.
Family and friends were gathering at both a funeral home and a church near the Southfield Freeway on Plymouth Road when shots rang out outside just as they were trying to honor their loved ones.
We gathered together to honor this wonderful young man, not for this.
Ozzie Pye was looking outside of his funeral home window when the gunfire erupted across the street Friday night.
It was extremely horrific. And I pray that, that happens to no one else.
According to the Detroit Police Department, it all unfolded outside of the Greater Love Tabernacle Church.
During the fight, one suspect pulled out a handgun and fired into the crowd, striking multiple people.
Detroit Police Chief Todd Bettison says his officers were already in the area, keeping an eye on the funeral services as they were aware of possible threats when they saw the suspect firing shots. That's when his officer shot the suspect.
You don't come to work expecting to have to do this, but the officer saw the threat and took action, and our officer is absolutely a hero.
Chief Bettison says the suspect was injured in the shooting and immediately taken into custody by police. The chief believes he was attending the funeral at the church.
It could have been far worse. So we're grateful that they were.
The victims in their 20s and 30s are all in the hospital with non-life-threatening injuries and are expected to be okay. Mayor Mary Sheffield sent a statement saying in part, "I want to thank the Detroit Police Department for the officers' quick and courageous action, which prevented further harm. This was an act of senseless violence, and it has no place in our city."
They were phenomenal. What they did was immense. I appreciate them being here.
Ozzie thankful for the police department and his own security team. However, he wants this behavior to stop.
Let's try to love on each other a little bit more seriously. These little beefs and incidences and things that can cause strife right now, we need to just put that aside.
On Detroit's west side, Megan Lee, 7 News.
Teaching on prayers that defeat demons, because arguing and being at odds with one another is a spirit. And it's a spirit from hell to keep us divided so we can't come together. I read this story, and I'm going to try to get back to this. I read this little story. I want you all to hear this, about a little country town. And they had a wooden bridge that connected the residents to the city. The fishermen would cross the bridge to go to their boats. The residents would cross the little wooden bridge to get to the town to do their business. Children crossed the bridge to go to school, back and forth. One day, the city council called a meeting because the bridge was getting weak. And they argued, they pointed fingers at one another because they were trying to decide who was responsible for the repair of the bridge. They pointed fingers because they were saying the bridge belonged to the town. Somebody said the bridge belonged to the county. Somebody said the bridge belonged to the residents. And they argued and they fussed and they argued and they fussed for months. The story says one day, one of the fishermen on his way to his boat stepped on the bridge and the bridge collapsed. Now, he didn't lose his life, but the bridge collapsed. Now watch this. The thing that kept them together is now gone. The story goes on to say the bridge didn't collapse because a storm hit it. The bridge didn't collapse because something heavy went across it. Said the bridge collapsed because of stubbornness. Nobody could come together to decide who was going to fix the bridge. The devil wants our bridge to collapse. The thing that connects us is unity. Psalm 133, how good and pleasant it is for brothers to dwell together in unity. So he keeps us arguing and at odds with one another and fussing and don't like one another. Because if he keeps us like that, we can't do what New Testament said, where 2 or 3 are gathered touching. I don't want to touch you if I'm mad at you. Turn to your neighbor. That's a trick of the devil. And you can't pray effectively and you're arguing and you're at odds with your brothers and sisters. Now, I don't know this life. I'm an only child. So I don't know what little Irvin and brother Irvin go through as siblings. But I can just about imagine. Because I had 2. I got 2. And we would take long trips, and in the back seat, this is what Pearl and I would hear. Mom, he touching me. Mom, he's over on my side. Quit touching me. Quit breathing on me. Then one time, quit looking at me. Am I somewhere close to what? Okay. That's what children do. How do you think you're going to pray effectively and you don't like one another? It's demonic. And we want miracle signs and wonders, but we got some issues that we got to work out. Amen, Pastor. I ain't getting no. It says in verse 17, he says, let me make another observation. We'll see a great contrast in Elijah, because it says in verse 17, Elias was a man subject to like passions as we are. And he prayed earnestly that it might not rain, and it rained not on the earth by the space of 3 years and 6 months. And he prayed again, and the heaven gave rain, and the earth brought forth her fruit. Listen, Elijah had issues like we do. But Elijah knew how to pray. This is a season that you're going to have to put aside your feelings. If you want something from the Lord, you're going to have to put your feelings on the shelf. Oh, thank you. Thank you, Mother Hollow. That's all right, Mother. You here to help me. I don't know about you. I want something from the Lord in this season, and whatever it takes for me to get